Planning, just great destinations, meaningful conversations, and a once-in-a-generation celebration of America's 250th. This November, be there. Text CRUISE to 94878 to book your cabin today.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this hour of the Shaun Thompson Show is sponsored exclusively by DonleyAuctions.com. They need your guns. Sell for top dollar. DonleyAuctions.com.
From the streets of Melrose Park to the trading floor of the Merc, he's fought for every dollar he's ever earned. And now, with personal liberty and our system of capitalism under assault in America, he's here to seize back our rights from the government. With a cigar in one hand and a copy of the Declaration of Independence in the other, he's Shaun Thompson. And this is the Shaun Thompson Show.
Some folks are born made to wave the flag. Ooh, they're red, white, and blue.
I think that they will be attacking all of the assault weapons bans with this case that they're taking up. It's clear to me what we're engaging in is assisting the Attorney General in getting outside advisors and counsel for the case before the Supreme Court and making sure that we have all of our ducks in a row to protect the rights of the people of this state that are protected by the assault weapons ban. That is
997 Chicagoans been shot by others. And guess what, Squirrel? That's an improvement. That's how low living in these Chicago areas are. I thought these butter-handed pansies who went to private school could read. Shall not be infringed. That's the way I read it. My next guest read it the same way, but he understands what Americanism is. He fought for it. On numerous occasions, he represented law enforcement, and now he is the director of outreach for Gun Owners of America. Louis Valdes, you handsome son of a gun. He's going to keep you busy, isn't he?
My brother from another mother, I keep hearing that you guys have this horrible smoke inhalation up there. Is Pritzker just opening his mouth again and blowing out hot air?
It could be. I don't go there much anymore, but I have to go again. And every time I land in Michelle Obama's underwear drawer, known as O'Hare, I would think smoke in the air would be an improvement. But that's just me. I don't like the stink of corruption, failure, and shame. However, I'm amazed at how many times you have taken them to court, one, and he's still going to double down with the ignorant arrogance of pretending anybody is safe. As all of those people who shot 997 Chicagoans, not a one of them had a FOID card.
The interesting thing is he said that how the people the assault weapons ban protects. Last I checked, there's millions of Illinois residents who are specifically having their Second Amendments violated, and they're not allowed to protect themselves because the state won't protect them. Chicago sure as heck won't protect them. So last I checked, that is exactly the exact opposite of what he's claiming the assault weapons ban does, because truth be told, gun control has never stopped anything, because last I checked, and you know this, your audience knows this, criminals are criminals because they break the law. They don't care.
Well, what's amazing to me is growing up in reality and this pretend society that these Democrats keep alluding to, that it exists, whether it's the bald-faced fraud that Illinois and especially the non-1800 politicians who didn't go to jail, 1,800 went to jail, all the corruption that exists, the gang and street control of neighborhoods is absolutely insane. But they pretend that since they've allowed people to own guns with their FOID card program and their concealed carry program, that it has helped the innocent from the predator. That's the most insulting part. They cannot recognize failure as it is killing and wounding and injuring thousands and thousands and thousands. In fact, they tout numbers of 997 shot so far this year as an improvement.
That's the improvement.
Yeah.
Look,
how many Iranians were shot this year?
I saw a news story just recently from one of the local TV affiliates out of Chicago that Chicago PD is specifically violating state law and arresting legal gun owners because their FOID isn't expired. It's that the card physically expired, and the Illinois State Police is dragging their butts in renewing the process. These gun owners have proof that they have renewed their FOID card. And per Illinois law, hey, if you renew your FOID card before it expires and you have proof that it was renewed and you're waiting on the physical card to be mailed to you, guess what? You're not in violation. You possess your firearms. Well, that's not what's happening. Chicago's still arresting them and openly violating their Second Amendment rights.
Well, this goes to
and they're
the
doing this against Black Americans.
Oh, listen, they don't care what color you are. It's if you're in the mafia or not. That's the only thing that matters. What's fascinating, though, is I remember, Louis, I was a kid, and they had said, oh, we're going to go do the FOID cards. And I had said to a couple of my relatives and older friends, I think I'm going to go get this FOID card. And the one guy was an older man. He said, listen to me, kid. You tell the government what guns you have and how many you have. You're a bigger moron than I ever thought you were. He was sitting there with 4 guns on him. Not a FOID card in his existence. The idea that they pretend that they're going to stick with and legitimize gun ownership when the reality is it was only to get people to confess on themselves what they had. That's the beauty of Florida. I don't have to tell you jack. I don't need a card. I don't need nothing from you. Concealed carry, nothing. It took a while to get here, but we're here. And this is something to recognize. We're one of how many states where you don't need to confess to the government that you're an American?
You know, there's 29 states where you don't even need a government permission slip now to carry a firearm.
Bingo. That's the only places I want to live. That's it.
We're working on number 30, North Carolina right now. And the most insulting thing is that Pritzker the Hut, in all of his lardness, is still pushing gun control when the U.S. Supreme Court has literally just said, hey, we're going to hear an assault weapons ban case. Oh, and by the way, one of them is from Illinois.
So what does it look like when he loses? I mean, what happens in the interim? So the people in Illinois, once again, the law-abiding, will have to just forego their rights, their unalienable rights, and you have to wait until the Supreme Court hears it. So what do you think, a year and a half before his fat ass is defeated again?
Well, by this time next year, we will have an opinion on AR-15s and magazines on a national level. And just remember, today, the Third Circuit Court out of New Jersey just ruled New Jersey's assault weapons ban is unconstitutional. So now you have a circuit court split. Now you have 2 cases already going before the U.S. Supreme Court. Oral arguments will be in the fall of this year, and opinions will be out no later than June 30th of next year.
Why do I feel like it's redundant table for 2 again? Haven't we already beat these cases? Aren't we already here? Is it just the legalese where they massage a word or 3 and the next thing you know, you got a new case? Haven't we already defeated this numerous times?
Well, here's the honest truth when it comes to our Second Amendment rights. They are never going to stop trying to disarm us. We are never going to stop fighting them.
Well, I love this, but you know the other reality is the feds did in 6 days what the existing law enforcement either were unable to do or disincentivized to do. I'm sure you heard this. 6 days, 500 arrests.
To Chicago now, where federal law enforcement agencies have made nearly 500 arrests as part of a historic crackdown. 11 agencies joining forces in the Windy City to conduct an operation meant to take criminals off the streets.
Well, that operation leading to the recovery of more than a dozen children who'd been kidnapped. Federal officials see these joint operations as a blueprint for future crime crackdowns. Our crime correspondent Jason Matera has more.
They got guns and dope. And the reason they did is that for once, the people who are enforcing our laws were confident that the people they arrested would be prosecuted. That's the real difference. And all of these attacks on the Second Amendment, on concealed carry, on all this, it doesn't apply to the favored resident. I don't even want to call them citizen. Favored resident, the illegal who has complete anonymity, doesn't need to identify himself, doesn't need to apply, and is constantly protected by the law and the court system in Chicago, regardless of any weapons he may have on his person at the time of arrest or who knows what he has. He never told you his name. It's the perfect place to be a scumbag, isn't it?
Well, why would Chicago and the Illinois State Police go after their own supporters? I mean, hell, in most of these cases, it's probably their own family members. I mean,
that's the other problem.
Well, as a former cop, I know there's some good Chicago cops, but man, the stories of corruption I've heard coming out of Chicago and I've heard coming out of Springfield, Illinois, when it comes to the ISP, it is ridiculous.
Oh, come on, for years and years and years. I mean, it's a punchline. And then you realize this all could have been stopped if they would have just had some conscience. You don't have to be Serpico, but you do have to stand on some sort of principle. And they've made it to a certain point when it's so bad, if you want to not be in the terrible areas, I don't know. It's a system that feeds on itself. And then the other side of the coin is, what good is it to arrest them? When you've got 10% of the ones on ankle monitors, the predators, the people who've already been arrested numerous times, 10%, it's in CWB as of yesterday, 10% they don't know where it is. They have no idea where it is. And then there was, I don't know if you heard about the guy. Did you know that Chicago has a one-punch rule? Oh, this is fantastic. A guy from the suburbs was going to the Blues Club. Walking outside, a Chicago public school honor roll student, couldn't read, write, or spell, or do math, punched him in the face and killed him. Because he only hit him one time, he got 4 years. It's the one-punch rule. If he would have hit him twice, they could have charged him with murder. They didn't even charge him with murder. It's involuntary manslaughter. He's got a 4-year sentence. The guy's dead. Kids, job, wife, law-abiding, killed by a degenerate pig who had been arrested 17 times prior. It's almost a punchline.
Well, the most insulting thing is that they let hardened criminals like that out on the streets in short periods of time, while they prosecute law-abiding gun owners and residents and citizens who simply want to protect themselves, protect their family, protect their homes and their businesses and their livelihood. And if you don't have a government permission slip to let alone own but carry a firearm, you go to jail. That is insulting on so many levels because, like you said, 27 words. It ends with shall not be infringed. English is my second language, and I bloody understand what the hell shall not be infringed means.
Well, it's also fascinating to think of, what you need when you're defending yourself against the repeat rapist, the repeat criminal, and what a woman would need, or somebody who hasn't been in enough fights against, say, this guy Ronald Reed. Ronald Reed is a very interesting character. He was arrested twice in 3 days for carrying a machete. Do you represent the rights of degenerate, illiterate Chicago public school honor roll students to carry a machete? I might have a new market for you. Machete owners of America. I mean, what would you do? Here, 6'2", with an IQ of 31, 3 lip piercings, and he looks like he was thrown out of Milli Vanilli, coming at you with a machete. You want to reason with him, or you want to put a 38 in his cheek? Which one do you want to do if you're a woman, say 120 pounds, on your way to your third job in between school classes? Right on the CTA, twice in 3 days. The lack of intellectual argument based on the people who want to weaken the culture, weaken the citizen, and turn them forever into slaves and accept the corruption that is the Democrat leadership, that's the real abuse. And I don't know how they can even bring these cases to any kind of judge with an IQ who supposedly passed the bar. It's preposterous at this point, isn't it?
It's insulting that they have, again, hardened criminals like that out on the streets, and they go after the law-abiding public. Our wives, our sisters, our mothers, our daughters, our grandparents, our kids. It is insulting that the most productive and law-abiding sections of society are the ones who are held back and restrained by the law, when the most egregiously violent and degenerate levels of society are given a free pass. Because, again, criminals are criminals because they break the law. No law that is malum prohibitum has ever stopped a criminal from being a criminal. And here's what it comes down to. Malum prohibitum is the Latin term for it's bad because the government said so. Malum in se is bad because it's naturally wrong. Rape, theft, murder, that's naturally wrong. Me carrying a firearm in Chicago without a government permission slip, I'm sorry, the founding fathers, they just overthrew the crown over something like that. It's ludicrous that you have cities in America and states creating laws that are more restrictive than the British Crown in 1775.
You know, when you're in a society and you're in a region where the government actively and openly works to protect the predator, actively and openly protects the repeat offender, turning them back out on the street, when you have judges that are releasing criminals back out on the street, and the honest citizen turns to the government and says, I need you to enforce the law. I need you to enforce the law. And perpetually is cast in a position where they have no recourse. How much longer? And I'm serious when I say this to you, because I could tell you right now, I got friends of mine that are stuck in the old neighborhood. Let me tell you something. This is not going to happen where they are. And if it does, you will never hear from these guys again. How much longer before my old neighborhood mentality spreads throughout the rest of the city and state? Because that's the only recourse I see. If I were damned enough to not be able to have left, I would be the first guy to put a social club right on North Avenue, with the come in here, I dare you, social club. It has to get to that point where the responsible men in neighborhoods and communities have to start enforcing God's law and the law of the American citizen, isn't it? It has to get to that point. It's almost as if they're pushing you to that point. When you have guys that are arrested 30 times, 20 times, 10% of who they say is on a monitor, they have no fracking idea where it is. You've got a mayor that weakens the possibility of identifying by taking down the technology called ShotSpotter. And you got guys dying on the sidewalks, in the streets, and in the alleys. At a certain point, the men in the community have to say enough is enough now. We're going back to the way it was, and let's start busting everyone's head. I'm sorry, but that's the way it has to go, isn't it?
Going back over 100 years, that's why the police state has now existed, and you have this monopoly of force being held by government, because government doesn't want people to independently defend themselves. Because if they're able to independently defend themselves, then they don't need to rely on government. It's a protection racket, just like the mob. They go to the local store owners like, hey, either you pay us protection or we burn down your shop.
Yeah.
Well, the government of Chicago and Springfield, Illinois, the state government, they do the same thing. Hey, you pay us protection, a.k.a. taxes, or we're going to burn your house down. And guess what? In the end, they do it anyways, because they have their underlings, the criminal class, out there willy-nilly doing whatever the heck they want anyways. So you're being forced to pay protection, and you don't even get your business protected.
It's insane.
At least the mob was a little more honest.
Oh, yeah, and they were heterosexual. It's a completely different world back then. Here's the other thing I want to say to you. I was pulled over yesterday in Florida. Have you been pulled over since they made it so that anybody can have a gun and you don't need to have these cards and all this stuff? Have you been pulled over since that happened?
They haven't pulled me over, mostly because they already know I'm packing.
Well, it's funny. I mean, I was speeding. I deserve to be pulled over. And I have to say something. It's a totally different experience when you are even pulled over by somebody who is of character and knows that you have certain rights. As he approached the car, I had rolled the window down, and he said, "Sir, before I get any closer, do you have any weapons in the car that I need to be aware of?" I said, "No, none at all." And I never had been pulled over with a better experience ever. And he even gave me a ticket and was like, "This is what you got to do." I mean, I have to say, it's different from top to bottom when you deal with people who have a common understanding of what it means to be an American, to have the rule of law. I think I had been cultivated so long into being absent of that, being an Illinois citizen for so many years. I think Floridians don't have an understanding about how lucky they are. Do you?
Well, there's some parts of Florida that still have issues, but yeah, for the majority of America, they don't have the issue that goes on in places like Chicago, New York, Illinois, Los Angeles, Detroit, D.C.
Which is why, if you're listening in those areas, it is crucially important that you become a member of Gun Owners of America for the price of, now what did they say, Taco Bell has the lettuce, they'll give you Montezuma's Revenge. For a price of 5 tacos at Taco Bell, you can avoid diarrhea and have your Second Amendment protected. Have you thought about making that your new slogan?
I'll think about that one. I like that one. Usually I say it's cheaper to get a GOA membership than me going to Burger King for the family. So
right.
It's still $25 a year to be a GOA member. To sign up, it's real simple. You go to gunowners.org/join. Again, it's $25. Every penny goes towards the fight. We don't fly around in private jets and bespoken suits and have palatial mansions in the Bahamas or anything like that. No, I'm a working class guy. I still drive a working class car, and I wear jeans and a polo. And if I have to go to the legislature, I wear Docker pants and a long sleeve shirt. But other than that, every penny goes towards the fight.
That's very, very good to know. You're not a front for an NGO. You're not smuggling illegal aliens across the border. What you're doing is fighting for the Second Amendment at $25 a year. Unbeatable. Gunowners.org, correct?
Correct. And for your listeners that are in the area, guess what? We are having goals. Gun Owners Advocacy Leadership Summit in Des Moines, Iowa, August 1st and 2nd. And last I checked, that's less than a 4-hour drive from Chicago to Des Moines. Folks,
yeah.
For $25, if you're not a GOA member, you just got to become a GOA member to get in. If you're a GOA member already, you get in for free. You get to meet the entire GOA staff, keynote speakers. You get to see the newest and latest firearms products and industry out there. And you get to bring home some stuff, too.
I think it's absolutely fantastic, and you better do it before that new Illinois toll kicks in. Another 45 cents, so they could steal our money. So beat the race before you're extorted on even the tollway. You're making it just under the wire. So that's August 1st and 2nd, you said?
August 1st and 2nd in Des Moines, Iowa.
I love it. You know how much I appreciate you and making time for me. I know how busy you are. So thank you, brother. I really appreciate you.
Always my brother from another mother. And next time, you need to be carrying, man.
I might have been. Shh. I'm from Chicago. I'm always from Chicago. We'll be back with your calls and comments.
He's Shaun Thompson.
Hello, Mr. Thompson.
And this is the Shaun Thompson Show on AM